à M. Robert Doussou, qui va nous présenter l'illustre élu.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Il s'agit d'un hommage au doyen Feu Boilem Bessaï, ancien président du Conseil constitutionnel d'Algérie, premier président honoraire de la Conférence des juridictions constitutionnelles africaines, membre fondateur du Congrès mondial sur la justice constitutionnelle. Madame la Présidente de notre organisation, Monsieur le Président de la Cour constitutionnelle d'Afrique du Sud, Président entrant de la CCJA, Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents et Juges, Mesdames et Messieurs, ce devoir nous soit, et lorsque j'ai été contacté pour cet hommage, j'ai pensé à Bossuet d'abord. Bossuet avait à écrire que le meilleur hommage à rendre après son départ pour l'éternité à une grande personnalité, que le meilleur hommage est le silence. Mais après le silence que j'ai moi-même observé devant le message que j'ai reçu, je me suis dit, je ne peux pas me dérober à cet hommage. Alors, je le rends. Je le rends en commençant par une citation. La voici. On se demande parfois si la vie a un sens. Et puis, on rencontre un jour une personne qui donne tout son sens à la vie. Fin de citation. Cette citation est de Brassailles. Brassailles est le pseudonyme de Gyula Alas, hongrois naturalisé français qui a vécu de 1899 à 1984, né en Hongrie et mort en France. Brassailles fut à la fois photographe, dessinateur, peintre, sculpteur et écrivain. Et lorsque vous examinez le contenu de la citation que je viens de lui emprunter, vous examinez aussi la multidimensionnalité de son auteur, c'est-à-dire de Brassailles. Eh bien, cet examen vous ramène à notre doyen Feu Boilem Bessaï, qui nous a quittés le 28 juillet 2016, à l'âge de 86 ans. Oui, Boilem Bessaï est l'une de ces personnes qui apparaissent dans notre vie et rend tout son sens à la vie, à notre vie, à votre vie. Parce que lui-même, sa vie est remplie de sens et d'engagement. Et ces engagements se traduisent dans un militantisme jamais interrompu. Ce militantisme a fait de Boilem Bessaï à la fois, ou tour à tour, combattant de la révolution algérienne, homme politique, diplomate, éducateur, homme de lettres, poète, écrivain, scénariste de films et juge constitutionnel, etc., etc. Il y a toujours, dans la vie des grands militants, des œuvres non révélées. D'abord, il fut un combattant toute sa vie, Combattant d'abord de la révolution algérienne, Boualem Bessaï l'a été et l'est. Vous m'excusez, tantôt je mets au présent, tantôt je mets au passé, parce que pour moi les morts ne sont pas morts. Leurs corps disparaissent, mais leurs œuvres sont là et leur esprit nous anime. Voilà pourquoi je dis que Bessaï est et demeure combattant de la révolution algérienne dès l'année 1957. Il s'est engagé dans les rangs de la révolution armée et y a assuré de nombreuses missions, dont la fonction de membre du secrétariat général du Conseil national de la révolution algérienne, et ce de 1959 à 1962, année d'indépendance de l'Algérie. Il a combattu avec le grade d'officier et il avait assuré à un moment donné la direction des services de renseignement de la révolution algérienne. À l'indépendance de l'Algérie, survenue après les accords d'Évian en 1962, il assura des fonctions diplomatiques puis politiques. Diplomatie et diplomate, l'indépendance a fait de Boualem Bessaï l'un des tout premiers ambassadeurs de la République algérienne. Ambassadeur en Belgique, en Suisse, au Vatican, au Caire, au Koweït, au Maroc, etc. Combattant, il fut homme politique. Il est entré plusieurs fois au gouvernement et a eu successivement les portefeuilles de l'information, des postes et télécommunications, de la culture, du tourisme et enfin des affaires étrangères. À ce dernier titre, il participa à plusieurs actions de paix et notamment à l'accord de Taïef sur le Liban dans le cadre de l'Union arabe. Ses dernières fonctions politiques fut d'être ministre d'État, conseiller spécial auprès du président de la République et représentant personnel du chef de l'État. Il n'y a pas qu'à l'exécutif qu'il déploya ses talents. Il fit également un passage au législatif, exactement au Conseil de la Nation, la deuxième chambre du Parlement, où il fut élu président de la Commission des Affaires étrangères. Je dis qu'il fut également éducateur. Partout où il passait, exhalait de sa personne un parfum de pédagogie. Son militantisme le rendait fortement partageux, justement parce que ce militantisme l'avait d'abord conduit à l'enseignement. Il fallait donner aux autres, éduquer les autres, apprendre aux autres. Docteur S. lettres et sciences sociales, il fut d'abord professeur de lettres. Il fallait former d'autres. Et quelque part, dans toutes ses fonctions assumées, il a formé en donnant l'exemple. Il a poursuivi sa fonction pédagogique par une activité d'écrivain et de scénariste. Écrivain et poète et scénariste. Il a été, il est. Il a laissé de nombreux écrits dont l'inspiration plonge dans sa vie de militant, l'histoire et la résistance. Bon nombre de ses écrits conservent la vie et l'œuvre de l'émir Abdelkader, chef militaire résistant dans les années 1847 à l'occupation française en Algérie, homme politique, écrivain, poète, philosophe, théologien. Vous y voyez là le mentor de Boualem Bessaï qui a écrit notamment de l'émir Abdelkader à l'imam Chamil. L'émir Abdelkader vaincu mais triomphant. Au bout de l'authenticité, la résistance par l'épée ou la plume. Son dernier ouvrage est intitulé L'Algérie belle et rebelle, de Jugurtha à novembre, etc., etc. Il a écrit enfin le scénario du film historique intitulé Épopée du cheikh Bonamama. Oui, Boualem Bessaï était parfaitement homme de lettres et d'art. Mais il nous a montré qu'un homme de lettres parfaitement ouvert aux choses de l'esprit et au monde pouvait diriger une juridiction constitutionnelle. Et il fut, j'ai extrait de tout ce qu'il fut ou de tout ce qu'il est, sa qualité de juge constitutionnel. Président du Conseil constitutionnel d'Algérie, de 2005 à 2012, il fit initier par son pays, l'Algérie, l'adoption par la conférence de l'Union africaine en juillet 2010 à Kampala d'une résolution recommandant la création d'une organisation panafricaine regroupant toutes les hautes juridictions africaines investies de compétences constitutionnelles. Lors d'une visite d'amitié que j'ai eu l'honneur d'effectuer à Alger, les 11 et 12 novembre 2010, à la tête d'une délégation de la Cour constitutionnelle du Bénin, le président Boualem Bessaï s'ouvrit à nous du projet découlant de cette résolution de Kampala. L'adhésion de la Cour constitutionnelle du Bénin fut immédiate et totale. C'est ainsi qu'en mars du deuxième congrès de la Conférence mondiale sur la justice constitutionnelle, tenu à Rio de Janeiro en janvier 2011, le président Boualem Bessaï a réuni toutes les délégations africaines présentes pour leur soumettre le projet. Et dès février 2011, un comité d'experts s'est réuni à Alger pour élaborer les projets de texte. Puis, les 8 et 9 mai 2011, fut créée la conférence des juridictions constitutionnelles africaines. Il m'avait quelque part pris un peu comme de son secrétaire et j'ai adhéré, épousé à ses idées. Vous allez vous poser la question de savoir pourquoi Boualem Bessaï a pensé à une organisation panafricaine. La raison est très simple. La raison est très simple. Dès la fin de la Première Guerre mondiale, et plus particulièrement la fin de la dernière Guerre mondiale, tous les patriotes, tous les nationalistes africains n'envisageaient pas l'indépendance de leurs pays respectifs sans le panafricanisme. Donc l'unité africaine était intimement liée au projet d'indépendance. Mais si, au lendemain de 1960, de nombreux États africains sont devenus indépendants, pourquoi a-t-on attendu 3 ans, mai 1963, pour créer la première organisation continentale, l'Organisation de l'Unité africaine? Tout simplement à cause de la guerre d'Algérie. Le gouvernement provisoire de la République algérienne était créé, avait besoin de soutien et d'aide. Certains États africains se sont engagés. D'autres respectaient ou craignaient les positions gaullistes de la France. Et l'Afrique s'était divisée en 2 groupes. Le groupe dit de Casablanca, qui se réunissait à Casablanca et soutenait le GPRA, et le groupe dit de Monrovia. Ce n'est qu'en avril 1962, lorsque s'ouvrit et fut conclue la conférence sur l'indépendance de l'Algérie qui a eu lieu dans la ville d'Évian, qu'il n'y avait plus d'obstacle au rapprochement des 2 groupes. Et l'indépendance de l'Algérie a permis la construction de l'Organisation de l'Unité africaine qui s'est mise après en Union africaine. Il n'y a pas de hasard. Il n'y a pas de hasard. Boualem Bessaï avait une mission. Et c'est cette mission-là qu'il a accomplie et qu'il nous faut être là aujourd'hui. Nous devons le féliciter, le remercier, lui rendre hommage. Mais il n'y a pas de hasard pour le lieu où se tient le premier congrès de notre organisation qui rend hommage officiellement à Boualem Bessaï. la terre de la République d'Afrique du Sud. J'étais en classe de 4e, et là encore, il n'y a pas de hasard. J'étais en classe de 4e au lycée, lorsqu'en novembre 1954 fut déclenchée la guerre algérienne, la guerre d'indépendance. Et toute mon adolescence et ma jeunesse ont été bercées par ce sort d'Afrique du Nord, d'Afrique du Sud, pour la lutte pour la liberté africaine, l'indépendance africaine et pour l'éradication de l'apartheid. Et je dois dire que je suis un pur produit de cette lutte. Ma génération vient aussitôt après la génération des Boalem Bessaï. Nous avons une autre conscience et nos convictions, alimentées par ces flammes qui se sont allumées sur toute l'Afrique. Ces flammes qui ont entretenu nos consciences et nos convictions. Voilà pourquoi je trouve que ce n'est pas un hasard que nous nous trouvions en Afrique du Sud aujourd'hui. Et que l'un des produits de cette lutte soit là pour rendre hommage à l'un des combattants qui s'en est allé. Ceux que Kwame Nkrumah appelait Freedom Fighters. Et ce qui a nécessité, dès l'indépendance du Ghana en 1957, la toute première conférence interafricaine des peuples africains, où des représentants de l'ANC ont été présents, où Patrice Lumumba était présent. Nous sommes dans cette continuité aujourd'hui, lorsque nous nous rendons compte que toute une génération s'en bat. Toute une génération s'en bat. Ils nous ont laissé une flamme et ils nous appellent à poursuivre cette flamme, à l'entretenir. Et c'est le seul véritable hommage que nous pouvons leur rendre. Je vous remercie.
Voilà. En tout cas, merci, Président Robert Doussou, de nous rappeler la longue et riche expérience de ce grand juge Boulem Bessaï, sa grande contribution à l'État algérien, mais aussi à l'Afrique tout entière. Merci beaucoup. Pour beaucoup d'entre nous, maintenant nous le découvrons et plus jamais nous n'oublierons le juge Boulem Bessaï. Merci beaucoup. Alors nous allons passer la parole au secrétariat général pour la motion de remerciement avant que je ne passe le flambeau représenté par le drapeau de la CCJA au juge président Moueng de l'Afrique du Sud. Et ensuite, une fois je lui aurai passé le flambeau, il clôturera les travaux en prononçant son allocution de clôture. Monsieur le secrétaire général, vous avez la parole pour la motion de remerciement. Monsieur le secrétaire général adjoint, vous avez la parole.
Thanks, Chair President. Motion of thanks. Participant in the 4th Congress of Conference of African Constitutional Jurisdiction, CCJA, representing the constitutional jurisdiction of 42 countries, representative of regional groups, the World Conference on Constitutional Justice, the Commission for Democracy through Law of the Council of Europe, meeting in Cape Town on from 23 on 26 April 2017, congratulate His Excellency Mr. Mogweng, Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa, the judge, the staff of the court for the excellent organization of this event, the authorities and the people of South Africa, in particular the inhabitants of the city of Cape Town, for the quality of their welcoming hospitality, which contributed to the success of this fourth Congress. They expressed their feelings of profound gratitude. Done at Cape Town on 26 April 2017. Thanks.
Voilà, nous allons maintenant passer à la passation de charge entre le président sortant et le président entrant. Et nous invitons, monsieur le SCJA, à approcher ici le drapeau de la conférence des juridictions constitutionnelles africaines. Voilà, monsieur le Président, le bureau sortant vous remet maintenant avec les autres membres élus, en même temps que vous, justement, le Fagnon, qui représente la mission de continuer, voilà.
Merci beaucoup. The outgoing president of the Conference of Constitutional Jurisdictions of Africa, my gratitude goes to you for the role you have played in the past 2 years, but also for agreeing to contribute to the funds that were so desperately needed by the judiciary of South Africa so as to make this conference the success that it has turned out to be. We're very grateful for that. Outgoing vice presidents and incoming presidents, vice presidents, I beg your pardon. Honorary President Dosso, esteemed colleagues, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. It is with a deep sense of humility and immeasurable gratitude that I assume the responsibility of being president of the Conference of Constitutional Jurisdictions of Africa. I do so not naive about the responsibilities, the challenges, that this, by extension, throws on my way. But I'm confident that with the assistance of colleagues, I will be able to do what is required of the President, duly assisted by members of the Executive Bureau at this critical stage in Africa. For some time, I wondered why the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales, the President of the Federal Constitutional Court of Germany, the Chief Justice of Brazil, and the Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, having all confirmed that they were going to be part of this meeting, withdrew on the 11th hour. But I think I now have the answer. They were not supposed to be part of this meeting, because the profound success that it has turned out to be would otherwise be attributed to them. Cynics would be saying, had the Americans, had the English people, had the Germans not come, this would not have happened. The immeasurable capacities of African people had the possibility to shine out, because on the 11th hour, colleagues were approached to ready themselves for the presentations that would otherwise have been made by those who were invited many months ago and had agreed to come and make presentations. But I believe that I'm not the only one who was unbelievably impressed by the quality of the presentations made by those substitutes, as if they had months within which to prepare themselves. So Africa was afforded the opportunity to demonstrably display her impressive capacities, as I said, within a very short space of time. This, to me, is a message that I, and I believe all other colleagues here, must go home with. If only we can be united in the vision that has long been waited for, the vision of demonstrating to all, including the doubting Thomases, or especially the doubting Thomases, that African people have what it takes to take their continent to the greatest heights that it was once known for. Digressing a bit, over and over again, I keep on reflecting on the reality that Egypt was the first civilization in the whole world. I've had occasion to write on this under the title of Restoring Africa's Lost Glory, and to anybody who's interested, I'll share the article. But also Mali. Your pyramids, the Alexandria University, the leadership that you exported to Rome as Egypt, the technology that was involved there. But Mali as well, through Sankore University, Timbuktu's literary treasures that are still a marvel to the whole world, and the contribution of of Timbuktu, I beg your pardon, as the golden city of the time. Zimbabwe, those ruins which bear testimony to the economic hub that the world recognized at one stage. Mapungubwe in South Africa as another economic hub, and many other African countries at the time when civilization was not known, where people think civilization began. This meeting is by any standards historic. It started very well. I believe it ended very well. You know, when a child is about to be born, to be given birth to, especially when it is twins or triplets or quadruplets, there are challenges that at times give you reason to believe that this might not work after all. Wrapping this particular point, when South Africa was about to agree on the way forward from apartheid into a constitutional democracy, 3 incidents took place that left some of us sure that the negotiations were permanently derailed. 1, some right-wingers drove a big military vehicle into the venue where negotiation talks were held. And people like Arthur Chaskalson, the former Chief Justice, and many others had to hide under the tables for fear of their lives. I'm one of those who said, it's finished. 2, there was a stage when there was a very ugly exchange of words between former President de Klerk and Nelson Mandela. It was so ugly. We were convinced that, it's over. We knew it. It was not going to happen. Finally, it was the assassination of Chris Hani, was still killed by a white right-winger. That, we believed, had permanently sealed any prospects of South Africa ever becoming a constitutional democracy, of black and white South Africans who have been at war with each other for many years, at long last finding common ground so that the peace, the freedom, the prosperity, and the joy we were looking forward to could become a practical reality. The rest is history. We are a constitutional democracy. Those were just the birth pangs. So, I assume the presidency of this organization confident that we have had a beautiful launch into the new phase of this organization. Now, I think at this stage, let me just thank people before I go any further. I want to thank members of the organizing committee. Colleagues, if you could step forward, because we tend to take all the glory as if we did everything. There are colleagues, 4 colleagues, Justice Zondo, Justice Jafta, Justice Mtlantla, Justice Kampepe is not here, and the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice, who afforded me the opportunity to pay attention to other things while they were making sure that this conference becomes what it is. This is Justice Zondo, the Deputy Chief Justice designate of the Republic of South Africa, has just been interviewed. We're waiting for the President to appoint Justice Mtlantla, Justice Jafta, and the Secretary General. So, if anything good has happened, give all the credit to them. If anything bad has happened, blame it on me. Where was I? And of course, all the officials attached to the Office of the Chief Justice, if you could step forward, please. Grant me the indulgence. We often forget those people who were soiling their hands just so that it could be. Please step forward quickly. We don't have time. While they are coming, I just want to say to my brother from Sudan, the Secretary General tells me that, tells us that she settled your bill, so you must have your refund back.
It was part of the package that anybody who becomes sick must be paid for by the South African judiciary. So these are the people who made it happen. They are not all here. Johan, where are you now with your officials having organized this thing? We have a staff complement of about 1,500 administrators under the leadership of this woman. They made it happen. I'm sure you have seen them more than you have seen me. So I'm here to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are excused. But I also just want to thank my judicial colleagues who went out of their way to meet the delegations at OR Tambo International and Cape Town. Colleagues, if you could just stand from where you are. The South African judiciary. Wow, Deputy Judge President Langulela, now are you ashamed? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for respecting your colleagues enough to make yourself available to accord them the dignity that they deserve. Thank you. You may be seated. I also just want to thank the South African Police Services. Here they are, you can see them, to make sure that we are all safe. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation, with the necessary protocols, they made themselves available. The State Security Agency, through their intelligence capabilities, to make sure that nobody is going to bomb this place or mark us. The Department of Health, to make sure that everybody who goes through a health challenge receives the help that he or she needs. And the Department of Home Affairs with the visas. We're very grateful to them. And all others that I may not have mentioned here, who obviously had a very critical role to play. Let me say this. Between I think it was the 23rd, from the 23rd to the 26th of January 2009, presidents and members of constitutional courts, constitutional councils, and courts with equivalent status were gathered in this exact same room, and together gave birth to the World Council of Constitutional Jurisdictions. Dr. Bukikio can bear me witness to that. It was in this room. And something strange happened. I know the podium was there. The Chief Justice of the time, Pius Langa, approached me during the tea break and said, Mogoeng, I want you now to go and sit on my chair because I'll be chairing a session. I said, but you have a deputy. He said, I want you to occupy my chair. I went to my room, told my wife, I said, I'm not going back there. This man wants to put me in trouble, to make me look like I'm ambitious, I love power. My wife said, oh, government paid money only for you to stay in the room instead of attending the conference, so I came back. And the Chief Justice saw me. I was with Judge President Monica Leo there. He says, Mogoeng, I want you to go and occupy my chair. And I did. Not many colleagues were very happy about it, but little did I know that in this exact same room, on the 3rd and 4th of September 2011, I would spend those 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday, being interviewed for the position of Chief Justice. And I could never have guessed that I would have the privilege and the honor of hosting the meeting of the Conference of Constitutional Jurisdictions of Africa in this same room. That says to me something that our minds are just too small to fathom is being birthed in Africa today. It has got very little to do with the personalities involved, but has everything to do with the fact that for far too long, Africa has been looked down upon. This is the time for the renaissance of Africa. This is the time for the restoration of the lost glory of Africa. The fact that we heard from Ghana Kofi Annan heading the United Nations as Secretary General, the fact that we have Dangote from Nigeria being the richest man in the continent, the fact that we have Barack Obama, the descendant of the Kenyans, having been the president of the most powerful country in the whole world when blacks are in the minority in the United States of America. The stories of the Oprah Winfreys, the Williams sisters, Tiger Woods, Nelson Mandela, Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, ought to demonstrate to all of us, without exception, that we have what it takes to influence not just the developments in this continent, but on the global stage. And the question is, what will it take for those words, for that vision to be translated into a practical reality? It's not a wish game. There is what to do. And the starting point is what Kofi Annan said while he was still the Secretary General of the United Nations, and I quote, "Corruption is an insidious plague that has a wide range of corrosive effects on societies. It undermines democracy and the rule of law, leads to violations of human rights, distorts markets, erodes the quality of life, and allows organized crime, terrorism, and other threats to human security to flourish. Corruption hurts the poor disproportionately by diverting funds intended for development, undermining a government's ability to provide basic services, feeding inequality and injustice, and discouraging foreign aids and investment. Corruption is a key element in economic underperformance and a major obstacle to poverty alleviation and development," close quotes. We enjoy as judges, as courts in this continent, a singular honor of playing a crucial role in the eradication of corruption. But we can only do so if we are not ourselves corrupt. It takes the uncorrupted to deal effectively with the corrupt. How effective are the mechanisms in place to root out judges who are corrupt in our jurisdictions? Do we mollycoddle corruption where we come from? Do we eat from the same dish with the corrupt, using our legal expertise to cover up for the wrongs that they are doing? Are we afraid of the corrupt, focusing only on the small man or small woman in your endeavors to root out corruption? But when it's the high and mighty, you take cover. We need to be men and women of integrity, as was debated during this conference, and a solid character should characterize us. we should be predictably honest and principled. Then and only then, when the judiciary of this continent in every country is known from afar that this one you cannot corrupt. Even if you want to kill him, he or she is like those judges in Ghana whose bodies were found lying dead somewhere. I believe they died because they were principled. Let's go back to the basics. Let's not be politically correct. Let us not pretend, let none of us pretend to be doing the right thing when we know that we are in the pockets of either the politicians in the executive or in parliament, or even the private sector, people in the private sector who can profile us through their newspapers or televisions or radio stations, or put money in our pockets or organize free trips for us. It is time to embrace the spirit of our forebears, the readiness to die for a just cause if death is what must happen to you, just so that African people can stop suffering when their continent is so rich. If members of the judiciary are not willing to be used by those who are in the habit of exploiting the economies and the natural resources and mineral resources of our different countries, then Africa has hope. 2, let's exchange best practices, colleagues. There are best practices everywhere. It will be a sad day if we come here, powerful speeches, but we have nothing to take home with us with a view to implementing it. My hope is the next time we meet, I'll be able, during our deliberations, to share with you what I learned from some of the colleagues here. For instance, I want to approach my brother in Ethiopia. I'm told their court automation system is one of the best. I was told by somebody in the World Bank. I'm told Tanzania is in the process of doing so or has already implemented. I want to learn from my brothers. None of us should assume that they know it all. Let us not reduce our congresses to forums for intellectual gymnastics, to be listened to, articulating points. What progress are you going to make with those points? What program of action are we going to go home with, individually and collectively? We are the ultimate guardians of constitutions wherever we operate as courts. We have the rare honor of ensuring that both members of the executive and the legislature carry out their constitutional obligations as dutifully as the Constitution requires of them. And we all know that no constitution and no law self-actualizes. I went to one country, very wealthy, beautiful constitution, but nothing is being done in terms of that constitution. It's just a make-believe. They have the judiciary, constitutional court, Supreme Court. They are well-funded, beautiful buildings, but it's just a political state. It's a PR exercise. Nothing tangible is being done for the good of the many people who are suffering. That's hypocrisy from where I sit. Colleagues, we must consider implementing formal or informal peer review mechanisms. As the judiciary mustn't allow for anybody to impose anything on us. We don't police each other, but it's got to be open to us to say to a colleague who's veering off the correct path, to say, but this is not right. I know in one country in East Africa, colleagues from 2 jurisdictions approached another and said, but what you are doing is not right. I know we did it in Southern Africa. When a particular colleague was not doing the right thing, we said, but what you are doing is not right. This thing of avoiding to offend, even when principles are being compromised, are being trampled on, explains why Africa is where it is right now. It is important that we are principled through and through. Not, hey, I don't want to ruffle the feathers. I don't want to rock the boat. That is why we've been colonized for too long. And nothing has happened because we didn't want to ruffle the feathers of those who are colonizing Africa. Let us be predictably principled as judges. Where threats or challenges are experienced by colleagues who operate in a system that does not allow them to voice their frustrations to the political arms of the state, we've got to take it as our responsibility, as individual jurisdictions, as regional structures, and as this body, to, without imposing ourselves, find a way to step in. Let us know so that we can find a decent and an acceptable way of stepping in, because you're not able to fight for yourself to say, but Excellencies, there is a problem here. With all respect, we were suggesting that maybe if you approach it this or the other way, it would be better. But also, forging some kind of alliances with structures like the International Commission of Jurists, the organized attorneys and barristers or advocates profession in our regions and in the continent, so that colleagues do not suffer the humiliation of operating in an oppressive system and there is nothing they can do about it. When my colleagues and I had the pleasure of interacting with our colleagues at the European Human Rights Court, one or two colleagues who serve in that court said, in our country there is no judicial independence and corruption is so rampant, we don't know what to do. What advice can you give me? Seeking advice from an African jurisdiction. And of course we sat down and explored possibilities that could help address the oppressive system in which they operate. When I went to the World Bank to make a presentation on what is it that judiciaries can do to incentivize foreign investors to come into Africa and invest so that the lives of our people can be improved, some people in African countries were connected via satellite. And some of them said, we are judges, here we are 5. We've never been trained in law, all of us. We don't know how to judge, but we are judges. That pained me so much that I throw it to all of us as a challenge. Those jurisdictions with a number of retired judges who are still strong and intellectually active, what is it that can be done? Even if to send judges there to fulfill a mentorship role to our brothers and sisters. What system can a body like this come up with? Can we maybe agree that we take something out of our budget to strengthen courts that are courts in name only, but are completely incapacitated from doing what the populace expects and requires of judges to do? It must worry us. It's an African problem, and we must proactively find a way to address it. Another issue, and I want to be quite frontal about this one. Judges must never allow themselves to be formally trained by any NGO. When you go for training, it is to a particular NGO that you go. That's irreconcilable with judicial independence. Why can't you ask jurisdictions that have got training academies or institutes to accommodate you in their training programs. Chief Justice Shivuti is here. Some of his colleagues came to the South African Judicial Education Institute so that together we can share the meal that is available. And we have received requests from other jurisdictions. Why can't judges organize trainings for other judges? The quickest way for judicial independence to be compromised is for you to surrender your own systems to some entity that receives funding from some foreign country whose vision about Africa and your own country you're not aware of. Because there is no free lunch. Never. There's always something behind the back. And payback time will come. They will remind you of what they have invested in you. And because of the affinity that you have built with them, it will be difficult to say no. Let us avoid anything that has the potential to compromise the independence of the judiciary. I place it on record because one colleague last week said to me, we are part of some arrangement. She was told we are part of some arrangement where we are trained by some entity somewhere. The South African judiciary has got its own training institute and programs. We refuse to be trained by anybody. We can be trained by another judiciary, not some private entity. It's not right. Colleagues, something that I mentioned that applies to both regional structures and this structure is this. We must be true to the statutes and protocols that govern the manner in which people are elected to office. I will not identify structures, I'm articulating a principle. I've come across a situation where you'd be part of a structure and somebody comes and say, here are the names of people who are going to be in the leadership. And you are a member of that structure. You wonder, but who says so? They say so. Who are they? The judiciary must never be made to look like there are some members within it that behind the doors collude with some forces elsewhere to choose leadership for them. We must choose our own leaders as we did this morning. That's a powerful progress that we have made because it never used to be like this. This thing of secret compilation of names, we are not a secret organization. In South Africa, in fact, in the questionnaire for judicial appointment, there is a question, are you a member of a secret organization? We don't operate like that. There must be transparency for this reason. We are the ones who have the ultimate say when national elections are held in our respective countries as to whether they were free or fair. So if you cannot ensure that there is freeness and fairness of elections in your own body of judges, we are justified to assume that when there are elections in your own country, they can be manipulated by you. So please, let us desist from creating the impression that we are not people of honor, people of integrity, people of solid character. We must avoid the unbelievable love for power, for positions, for money, and for fame as judges. You'll be destroyed. All we have to do is to offer you an opportunity to be famous, offer you money, and you can compromise principles, if you're not careful, just to become Chief Justice and receive all the tax that comes with a position. Finally, as I wrap this point, I say to people, From where I sit always, I believe that the position of Chief Justice or Judge belongs to the people of South Africa. But because they cannot all be Chief Justice or Judge, they've identified some of us to assume that responsibility on their behalf. So you can't lord it over people. You can't begin to behave as if you own your nation. You can't behave anyhow as if you are not there to serve the people, but as if you are there to serve yourself and personal interests or your family. So we must check our love for power, for positions, for fame, and for money. Because if you fall in love with those things, you are an easy victim or an easier candidate for being used most inappropriately. And the bad thing about being used by any powerful entity or person is that they will use you, they will lose respect for you, and then you will reach your sell-by date and they will dump you like a chewing gum that has lost its sweetness. I've seen it happen to a number of people. Finally, let me quote the words of Lord Macaulay that I quoted when I began. They are most profound, and I think they are worth repeating as I conclude. Open quotes. I've traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country. As I said, that's a reference to Africa as a country. Such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we could ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English, and you can add any other language, is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation, close quotes. Colleagues, we must be very careful not to hero worship our colonial masters, because they would want you to be too obsessed with being of the Commonwealth country, being too obsessed with being a Francophone, being too obsessed with being Portuguese or Spanish. We are one people, one continent, if you like, one country. Let us forge unity among ourselves. We've been ignored for far too long with our permission. We've been marginalized for far too long with our permission. We've opened ourselves up to be manipulated by other people, other interests, other forces, other countries, in the furtherance of their own self-interest. I think the time has come, through the offices we occupy as the judiciary of Africa, to remember that the difference that we can make in turning the fortunes of Africa around are incredibly huge. If the singular act of Martin Luther King Jr. could give rise to the movement that he was leading that ultimately culminated in the presidency of Barack Obama, if Mother Teresa could do what she did for humanity, If Oprah Winfrey can reach out to many African people in the manner that she does, building schools to empower young girls in the area of leadership. We are not one, we are many. Just reflect on the profound impact that men and women of integrity could make collectively. So let us keep our self-esteem intact. Let us make sure at all times that we enjoy freedom from any form of domination as African people. Whenever we have differences, let us know that they are normal. Because even in a family, your children will be fighting. Even husband and wife, it is a lie to say you never have a serious misunderstanding with your wife. It's normal because you are different. So why can't we have differences, even serious? Some men even occupy this bedroom for the whole week, the wife that other bedroom for the whole week, because there are serious differences. And we are no different. Whether Africa becomes a respectful, developed, true constitutional democracy with strong institutions, in a politically stable environment, depends on what you and I are going to do from here. Let us go and work. Thank you very much.
So that was our Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng, who's closing out the Congress of the fourth Congress of the Conference of Constitutional Jurisdiction in Africa, and it was an impassioned speech where I think he spoke from his heart. He had notes in front of them, but he hardly referred to.
Colleagues, thank you very much for making this your conference the profound success that it was. I jokingly said to the president when we were in the holding room on Monday, I said, it looks like this is a mother's touch. But now after her comments subsequently, I'm not too sure that it's safe to say that. But it happened under your presidency. And for that, we thank you. Thank you for affording us the opportunity to host. Thank you for coming in your numbers. The next time we meet, let us demonstrate the deliverables. Dinner will be served, I'm told, in the next room. Oh, it looks like there are announcements coming. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much. For anything wrong, forgive us. For everything good, as I said, applaud the team and the president. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Colleagues, we are left with one item, that is the cocktail, which we are going to have. We ask that we meet next door at 7:45, it's 25 past 7 now. 7:45 to start with the cocktail so that we can finish everything properly. Thank you very much.